Hello, everyone. My name is Ganit Goldstein, and I was a resident in TDR residency from April till June 2021, and I'm happy to share my experience in the artwork and the design workflow I've been working on through the time and with the partners. A bit about myself, I'm working on 3D interactive textiles for a few years already. My background is fashion and jewelry. I studied at the Textile Academy of Art and Design in Jerusalem. I also been in exchange student period for 3 months in the Tokyo University of the Arts in Japan. And through that, I also I will show later on what I've been working on to merge traditional techniques and futuristic technologies to make hybrid textiles. Then in 2019, I went to study masters in textiles in the Royal College of Art, part of the soft system program, which works on the development of smart materials and smart textiles with many techniques. And currently I'm now a SMARCS computation student in MIT, and I'm also working in the media lab in the Tangible Media Group as a research assistant. And my interests are really about the combination of crafts and 3D printing and how we can merge the technologies that were in the past and how we can take them forward with us while the technology is running fast. And I think there are lots of things that are really special in the traditional method and the handcrafts. And for me, using the technology and the most development equipment, it's not often the best solution. So I'm trying to merge the technologies together to make customized garment manufacturings and also shape-changing fabrics. And yeah, so for some time I'm working on the physical and the virtual tools. And through the textiles, I think there are lots of possibilities to make new interactions between humans, between handcrafts, and between materials. And my period in Tokyo University of the Arts was really special because I was working there for a few months just on traditional methods. So this is traditional ikat weaving. So it's the method of weaving, of dyeing the threads prior to the weaving process. So it often has a blurry look, and therefore it's really unique. It's always different patterns that appears. Then I also worked on katazome technique, which is also using special rice paste to make patterns and dissolve them in water and making the patterns appear on the surface of the fabric. And I also learned their traditional shibori technique, so also very old methods of producing fabrics and patterns by dipping. Those are few examples of my period there in Japan and how I could take the more holistic approach of producing fabric in traditional way. And then I went back to Israel to finish my bachelor degree in fashion, and I wanted to make the hybrid workflow from my previous project that I worked with 3D body scan and 3D printing, and try to merge these techniques together. And I started to make 3D sketching and really explore these possibilities of merging the technologies together. And this is a couple of examples of the process that I worked on for merging ikat weaving and 3D printing from body scan, also with 3D multicolor printing and the pieces that are combined together to make the hybrid textiles through the weaving process. So some of these are printed, some of them are hand woven, and for me it was really special to try to merge this technique and try to solve design aspect of the merging. And this was a collaboration with Stratasys. Recently in 2019, I was lucky to win the Reframe grant. It's a EU grant. And then I worked with a couple of European companies to make 3D printed outfits. So this is all 3D printed combined with embroidery pieces. And it has around 200 pieces that embedded inside the 3D printing process, and it has no joints. So that's the full printing on top of fabric without any sewing, with 16 parts that assembly with the process. And so far, this was my background, but with all of these, I was lucky to come to work with TDS Research and the partners, and to work on the same techniques I was developing, but really enjoy the collaborations and the opportunities that TDS offered. So I was working on combining the traditional methods, adding new dimension to fabrics, making interactive experience using the textiles as a platform to communicate, and also making the embedded systems inside the textile structures. And I worked with the Textile Museum in St. Gallen on more theoretical research that I will share soon. Then I work on interactive embroidery with Sawa, on weaving structures with Tiska, and screen printing with Textildruckerei. And while I was working with, I was doing my TDS residency, I was also in my final year of the RCA, Royal College of Art master degree. And there I was working on moving flowers that react to body gestures and changing their shape accordingly. And I worked on some parametric software to make the movement of the flowers and see the behavior, also changing the kind of a library of flowers that can change shape and change their appearance. And so this is few examples of how I worked on the parametric software with Grasshopper and changing the petal orientation. This is how the code looks, but it's just changing lots of parameters that can offer me more opportunity to make the shape change. And then I worked on more like a system of flowers that react to the change through the interaction. But then it was just trial and error with my 3D printer and trying to see how I can digitize the process of the flowers with conductive threads. And those were the initial prototypes of the flowers and the change of the materials. But then I also I arrived to Arbonne, and then I saw that in the SAR Museum, there is a really brilliant sketch that is similar to my previous work that I worked on the flowers. And it was really exciting for me to see and to learn more how I can make the embroidered flowers. And then I worked in St. Gallen on the theoretical research and seeing how I can learn from the technologies and the techniques that exist in embroidery many years ago. And I worked with Christine on the archive and seeing the embroidery, the combination of few materials that have been used to make patterns inside the embroidery. This is the process, a video that presenting the process that I worked on in TDS for the 3 months, and it was also my final degree presentation for the RCA. Bit about our process using the SAR embroidery machinery. So it's a large scale embroidery that making the patterns. I think we had around 300 repeats. It's a 1.5 meter by 1.5 meter embroidery piece, which has also, which is embroidered on top of dissolvable fabric. And the process was really interesting for me, and for also with a collaboration together to make to work on conductive materials and embedding systems inside the creation of the embroidery, and trying to make the interaction through the embroidery itself. And we also use glowing in the dark yarns, so it was also the system of making the fabric react to sunlight. And for me, it was an incredible opportunity to work together with them on such a big scale production, and not as I used to work on very small pieces of embroidery. And this is some of the process, but after we finished the piece, we could also make the interactive embroidery, so it's react because of the conductive material. It could also be connected to music and to many other technologies. And also because I was still working in the RCA in my master's in virtual tools, so I could also merge my approach of making interactive VR experience. So I've been developing this hybrid between the virtual space, the virtual fabric, and the real fabric, and how it can react to the movement of the hand, of the digital hand in the real world. So that was also really interesting piece for me, also to combine it through virtual hand gesture, kind of merging them together. This is some of the example of how it's adapting to the movement, adapting to my hand, and then I can control on the light system inside the fabric, inside the whole interactive. So this is also changing the colors through the distance with my hand, and changing the shape and the color accordingly. So this is a few pictures from the graduation exhibition that was in July. We were also very lucky to still present it live and in a physical show. We also had an exhibition online, so it's still available in the RCA 2020 graduation show to see the whole process that I've been working on. And I was also lucky to have a few publications in Design Boom, in other websites, to capture the interactive embroidery piece that I worked in Tada residency. And also there was recent an exhibition about Beyond Embroidery in the Prescope Gallery in Tel Aviv. And since I also worked before on weaving, I was really interested to work with Tisca, and also developing the entire system of embedding the electronics inside, but also thinking about the three-dimensional weaving and how we can work with jacquard looms to make the fabrics more three-dimensional. So these are a few examples of the process using special materials and also new method of making the three-dimensional texture. So I worked with Claudia for a long time, and it was really, really interesting to me to work together with her and to learn about the structure of the weaving. And so I worked with Claudia on some development on really interesting shape-changing structures and also three-dimensional yarn combination, and learn from her how to transfer the digital file to the jacquard loom and how we can manipulate structures within the creation. So that was a really, really interesting period in the residency for me. And this is some of the examples we worked together to make the three-dimensional textiles, but also thinking about combination of yarns, combination of structure, combination of flexibility of the fabrics, and also making some really three-dimensional structures inside the production. So for us, it was really trying to push the boundaries of how we can play and work towards more three-dimensional hybridity of making the structures. And the last part of the residency was working on some screen printing. So I worked with Textildruckerei, but also with some companies that helped to produce the actual screen. And it was also interesting for me to learn the screen printing process with Martin. And this is just an example of our process of making the screen printing a long road of screen printing. Yeah, so we worked on it was color collection, so it's still on the process, but it was quite the end of the residency to work together, and so we could I'm still developing and still thinking about the new collection, how it can be produced, but this is part of how we actually made it, which was really interesting to calculate the distances between the colors, the areas that I would print, and yeah, so this is the process. And this is some of the result to make gradient patterns inside the screen printing, and also using new, like not new, but also gold printing, which is actually not, it's really almost impossible to make gold in a digital print. So that was also part of our decision to make the playground, play with the colors and the new, and try to see how to work with also parametric design. And this is really just the beginning of this project, and I really want to continue and see where I can push it more with also with 3D printing on top of the fabric. Yeah, so I really want to thank you for everyone to listen, and also for Mariana and Martina and everyone that was involved in this incredible 3 months. For me, it was really, really special, and I learned so many new things and new experiences, and also working with my my roommates. It was really, really a great experience for me to learn and to be involved in the creation of fabric in Switzerland. You're very welcome to see more project of me, of things I made and the things I will develop now towards my program in MIT. And you're welcome to send me an email if you have any question. I'm happy to answer and to keep in touch. Thank you so much.